The name Hank Williams Jr. isn't just a legend in country music. It's the center of one of the most powerful family dynasties the genre has ever seen. But behind the fame and outlaw spirit are children who grew up carrying a name that shaped country history. Each of them faces the challenge of stepping out from the shadow of both a famous father and the iconic legacy of Hank Williams. Keep calm to meet Hank Williams Jr.'s children now. Hank Williams III. When Hank Williams Jr. and his wife, Gwen Yeargain, welcomed their son, Hank Williams III, into the world on December 12, 1972, few could have imagined how complicated that child's relationship with music history would eventually become. Born into one of country music's most famous families, the grandson of the iconic Hank Williams, Hank III entered life with a name already surrounded by enormous expectations. Yet despite the legendary lineage attached to his name, his early childhood was far more ordinary than many fans might assume. In a 2012 interview with Glide magazine, Hank III explained that his upbringing was surprisingly normal. Although his father was already a successful country star by the time he was born, the young boy did not grow up immersed in the touring lifestyle or the spotlight of the music industry. Instead, he spent most of his formative years living with his mother in Nashville, Tennessee. Later, after his mother remarried, the family relocated to Atlanta, Georgia. Rather than attending elite schools or traveling with a famous parent, Hank III lived a life that closely resembled that of many other American children. He attended public schools, played sports, and built friendships outside of the music world. Reflecting on those years, he once said that his childhood felt pretty average. Many people assumed he had spent long stretches on the road with his famous father, but that wasn't the case. According to Hank III, he only saw Hank Williams Jr. for about a week or two each year while growing up. Because of that distance, he did not feel like he had been raised inside the Williams musical dynasty. Instead, he developed his own interests and identity largely outside of the family's country music spotlight. As he grew older, however, music inevitably found its way into his life. But rather than immediately following the traditional country path associated with his grandfather and father, Hank III gravitated toward something far more rebellious. In his youth, he became deeply immersed in the underground punk rock scene, a genre known for its raw energy and anti-establishment attitude. For a young man carrying the Williams name, this direction surprised many observers, but it also reflected his desire to define himself on his own terms. By the late 1990s, Hank III had begun building a reputation as a fierce and unconventional performer who blended outlaw country, punk, and heavy metal influences. In 1999, he released his debut album, Risin' Outlaw, a record that immediately signaled his determination to honor his roots while refusing to be confined by them. The album showcased a gritty sound that balanced traditional country storytelling with the rebellious spirit of punk. His reputation continued to grow in 2004 when he released Straight to Hell, an ambitious double album that further cemented his status as one of the most unpredictable figures in modern country music. The record pushed boundaries, mixing outlaw country with elements of hardcore punk and metal, an unusual combination that both shocked and fascinated listeners. Despite his willingness to experiment, Hank III never forgot the musical legacy that came before him. In 2012, he released Long Gone Daddy, a project deeply inspired by his grandfather, Hank Williams, whose influence on country music remains immeasurable. The album paid tribute to the traditional sounds that had shaped the Williams family name, while still maintaining the raw authenticity that defined Hank III's style. Over the course of his career, Hank III released a total of 13 studio albums, building a catalog that spans multiple genres and musical experiments. His final studio release so far, Ramblin' Man, arrived in 2014 and continued to explore the blend of country tradition and rebellious edge that had become his signature. Yet being part of such a legendary musical family has always carried emotional complexity. In interviews, Hank III has openly discussed how the Williams legacy has shaped his life in both positive and challenging ways. Speaking with Noise 11, he described the family name as both a blessing and a curse. On one hand, it connects him to one of the most celebrated dynasties in American music history. On the other hand, it creates expectations that can be impossible to meet. He explained that when someone grows up connected to a famous father or grandfather, people naturally expect them to follow a certain path or live up to a specific image. But in the end, every artist must find their own voice. Hank III acknowledged that trying to stay true to himself sometimes meant disappointing those who hoped he would simply replicate the sound of earlier generations. Following the release of Ramblin' Man, Hank III gradually stepped away from the spotlight. Unlike many artists who constantly seek attention, he chose a quieter path, largely retreating from public life and maintaining a relatively private existence in recent years. This withdrawal has only added to the mystique surrounding his career. Despite his low profile today, the Williams musical legacy continues into yet another generation. Hank III has a son, Coleman Williams, from a previous relationship. Like the men before him, Coleman has pursued a career in music, proving that the powerful influence of the Williams family remains alive. Across 3 generations, from Hank Williams to Hank Williams Jr. to Hank Williams III, the family has shaped American music in profoundly different ways. While Hank III may have walked a path far removed from the traditional country sound of his grandfather, his journey ultimately reflects the same rebellious spirit that once made the Williams name legendary. Hillary Williams. As the granddaughter of the legendary Hank Williams, Hillary was born into a lineage that had already shaped the sound of American music for decades. Yet surprisingly, her early childhood was not defined by fame or the pressures that often come with such a famous last name. Growing up, Hillary and her siblings experienced a life that felt far more ordinary than many people might imagine. During a 2024 appearance on the Big Plan podcast, Hillary reflected on her childhood and revealed that she had little understanding of her father's celebrity status. In her eyes, the world around her seemed completely normal. Famous musicians and performers who visited the family home simply felt like friendly faces rather than larger-than-life stars. Looking back, Hillary laughed at the innocence of those years. She recalled that as a child she didn't realize her father was a major figure in country music. To her, the people who came around the house were simply Dad's friends. Only later did she begin to understand that many of those visitors were actually icons in the music industry. That gradual realization made her upbringing feel unique. She had grown up surrounded by musical greatness without fully realizing it. Music itself was always present in the Williams household. Even when fame wasn't fully understood, the sound of instruments filled the air at home. Hillary has often spoken about how her love of music began naturally during those early years. Her father frequently played guitar and banjo around the house, and those moments left a lasting impression on her. Hearing the instruments and watching the joy they brought sparked a curiosity that would eventually grow into a lifelong passion. From a young age, Hillary sensed that music might be her calling. As soon as she learned to speak and sing, she found herself drawn toward melody and storytelling. The influence of both her father and her legendary grandfather created an environment where music felt almost like a natural language. Over time, she began to understand that performing and songwriting were not just interests. They were part of who she was. Although she eventually pursued a career as a singer-songwriter, Hillary's journey into the music industry took an unexpected and life-altering turn. In 2006, she and her sister Holly Williams were involved in a devastating car accident that nearly claimed Hillary's life. The crash left her with catastrophic injuries and forced her into a long and painful recovery process. Doctors later revealed just how serious the situation had been. Hillary had lost an enormous amount of blood, nearly 6 pints, and medical professionals initially believed she might not survive. In a 2018 interview with People, she recalled being told that she likely would not have lived more than 20 minutes after the accident due to the severity of her injuries. The aftermath of the crash was physically and emotionally overwhelming. Hillary underwent around 30 separate surgeries as doctors worked tirelessly to repair the damage caused by the accident. Her recovery was long and grueling, and at one point she even had to relearn how to walk. The process required immense determination, patience, and strength. Rather than allowing the tragedy to silence her creative voice, Hillary eventually transformed the experience into music. Her debut album, My Lucky Scars, became both a personal reflection and a symbol of survival. The title carried deep meaning for her. It referred not only to the physical scars left on her body, but also to the reminder that she had been given a second chance at life. Hillary has often described those scars as a source of gratitude rather than pain. They represent the fact that she survived something many people would not have endured. Through the album's alternative country rock sound, she explored themes of resilience, healing, and emotional strength. The project allowed her to process her trauma while sharing a deeply personal story with listeners. Even during the hardest moments of recovery, Hillary never lost her connection to music. She has said that music felt embedded in her identity from the very beginning of her life. Growing up in a family shaped by Hank Williams and Hank Williams Jr., she had been surrounded by songs, instruments, and storytelling for as long as she could remember. That lifelong connection eventually led to one of the most meaningful moments of her career. In June 2018, Hillary stepped onto the legendary stage of the Grand Ole Opry for her debut performance. For any country artist, the Opry represents a sacred space in the history of the genre. For Hillary, it carried even deeper emotional weight. She later described the experience as surreal. Walking into the famous Opry circle felt like the fulfillment of a dream she had held since childhood. She had grown up watching videos of her grandfather performing on that very stage and had sat in the audience as her father and sister performed there. For years, she had imagined what it would feel like to have her own moment under those lights. When that moment finally arrived, the memory became unforgettable. The energy of the crowd, the history of the stage, and the connection to her family's legacy combined into a powerful experience she would always treasure. Hillary's bond with her father has also remained strong throughout her life. In September 2024, she celebrated one of his new musical collaborations on social media. When Hank Williams Jr. released the song Finer Things with Post Malone, Hillary shared her excitement on Instagram while reminiscing about attending her father's concerts. In the post, she wrote about having a wonderful time at his summer performance in Clarkston, Michigan, where she attended the show with friends. The message reflected both her pride in her father's ongoing career and the joy she still finds in watching him perform. Through triumph, tragedy, and recovery, Hillary Williams has carved out her own place within the powerful Williams musical legacy. While her life has been shaped by the extraordinary history of her family, her story ultimately stands on its own, a testament to survival, determination, and the enduring power of music. Holly Williams. Her full name, Holly Audrey Williams, carried special meaning. Her middle name, Audrey, was chosen as a tribute to her famous grandmother, Audrey Williams, the first wife and longtime collaborator of the legendary Hank Williams. From the very beginning, Holly's identity was tied to a musical lineage that had shaped American culture for generations. Despite that extraordinary heritage, Holly's childhood felt surprisingly normal. In interviews over the years, including a conversation with The Boot, she explained that growing up in the Williams household did not feel overly glamorous or dramatic. Like her siblings, she experienced many of the same routines and everyday moments that most children do. While her father was a major star in country music, family life was still filled with ordinary experiences, school, friends, and time spent at home. Even though the environment around her was relatively grounded, Holly seemed to sense from an early age that music would become a central part of her life. Surrounded by the songs, stories, and instruments of her father and grandfather, she developed a deep appreciation for songwriting and performing. The Williams legacy was impossible to ignore, but rather than feeling pressured by it, Holly felt inspired. By the time she reached her early 20s, she had already begun pursuing music professionally. Determined to build a career on her own terms, Holly released her debut album, The Ones We Never Knew. The record introduced her as a thoughtful singer-songwriter with a sound rooted in country tradition, but infused with a modern sensibility. Her music emphasized emotional storytelling, personal reflection, and rich melodies, qualities that had long defined the Williams family's approach to songwriting. Her artistic journey continued with additional albums that helped establish her reputation as a serious and talented musician. In 2009, she released Here With Me, a project that further refined her sound and deepened her connection with audiences. A few years later, in 2013, she followed it with The Highway, another album that blended heartfelt lyrics with classic country influences. Over the years, Holly's work also brought her into collaboration with several major artists in the music industry. She shared creative space with performers such as Dierks Bentley, Jewel, and Keith Urban, expanding her reach and demonstrating her versatility as both a vocalist and songwriter. Her career reached another meaningful milestone in 2013 when she made her debut at the historic Grand Ole Opry, a stage that has long symbolized the heart of country music. However, Holly's life took a dramatic turn years earlier in 2006 when she was involved in a devastating car accident alongside her sister Hillary Williams. The incident was life-threatening and forced Holly to reevaluate many aspects of her future. The physical and emotional impact of the accident created a period of deep reflection, leading her to explore new creative paths beyond music. During her recovery, Holly discovered another passion: entrepreneurship and design. Inspired by both her artistic instincts and her family history, she opened a women's clothing boutique in Nashville called H. Audrey. The boutique's name was a meaningful blend of her own first name and that of her grandmother, Audrey Williams, symbolizing the connection between past and present generations. The store quickly became known for its stylish selection of clothing and curated atmosphere, reflecting Holly's personal taste and creative eye. But her ambitions didn't stop there. In 2013, she embarked on another unique project, restoring an old gas station in Nashville and transforming it into a charming retail space called White's Mercantile. The name honored her maternal grandparents, Warren and June White. White's Mercantile grew into an upscale general store offering a wide variety of carefully chosen products, including clothing, books, home goods, and specialty items. The store quickly became a beloved destination in Nashville, blending nostalgia with modern design. For Holly, the venture represented another way to express creativity outside the traditional boundaries of music. On her website, Holly has spoken openly about how growing up in such a creative family continues to influence everything she does. She believes that the legacy of her father and grandfather serves as a reminder to stay authentic and imaginative, regardless of the medium she is working in. Whether she is writing a new album, designing a retail space, renovating an old building, or even perfecting a recipe, Holly approaches each project with the same artistic mindset. Her relationship with her father has also remained an important part of her life. In honor of Hank Williams Jr.'s 74th birthday, Holly once shared a heartfelt tribute on Instagram, reflecting on the many experiences they had shared together. In the post, she wrote about both the joyful and difficult moments that had shaped their family, emphasizing how much she had learned from him over the years. She described her father's deep love for nature, noting how passionately he enjoys hunting and fishing. According to Holly, he has always emphasized respect for the outdoors and for the animals involved in those traditions. She also spoke warmly about how involved he is as a grandfather, proudly attending his grandchildren's events, from school activities to Little League games. Holly's tribute also acknowledged the painful chapters their family had endured together. She recalled the darkest period of their lives when her sister passed away in a tragic car accident several years earlier. Through those moments of grief and hardship, Holly said she witnessed her father at both his lowest and highest points, yet she still viewed him as the strongest man she knew. Beyond her career and family heritage, Holly has also built a fulfilling life of her own. In September 2009, she married drummer Chris Coleman, beginning a new chapter centered on family and creativity. Together they have 4 children: daughters Stella June, Lily Mae, and Georgia Grace, along with their son Arlo Gale. Balancing motherhood, music, and entrepreneurship, Holly Williams has created a life that honors her family's remarkable past while forging an identity entirely her own. In many ways, she represents the modern continuation of the Williams legacy, an artist who respects tradition while constantly finding new ways to express creativity and resilience. Catherine Williams Dunning. As the granddaughter of the iconic Hank Williams, Catherine grew up surrounded by a powerful musical legacy that had shaped generations of American country music. Yet, like many of her siblings, her life was not defined solely by fame. Instead, she built her own identity rooted in family, creativity, and entrepreneurship. Friends and relatives often described Catherine, affectionately known as Katie, as warm, energetic, and deeply devoted to those she loved. While the Williams name carried immense history in the music world, Catherine chose to pursue her own path outside the traditional spotlight of the entertainment industry. She focused on building a life centered on family and creative business ventures while still remaining closely connected to her famous relatives. One of the most meaningful chapters of her life began when she met Tyler Dunning. Their relationship blossomed into a deep partnership, and the couple eventually decided to begin their life together as husband and wife. On October 15, 2015, Catherine and Tyler were married in a beautiful ceremony that celebrated their love and commitment to one another. Their wedding journey gained national attention when it was featured on the popular television series Say Yes to the Dress, which aired on TLC. The show documented Catherine's experience of choosing the perfect wedding dress, giving viewers a glimpse into the excitement and emotion leading up to the couple's big day. For Catherine, the experience was not about fame, but about celebrating a joyful milestone in her life. Soon after their marriage, Catherine and Tyler began building a family together. They welcomed 2 children who quickly became the center of their world: their son Beau Weston and their daughter Audrey Jane. Motherhood became one of the most important and fulfilling roles in Catherine's life. Those close to her often said she embraced parenting with enormous love and dedication, pouring her energy into creating a happy and nurturing home for her children. Alongside her role as a mother, Catherine also pursued a passion for entrepreneurship. Inspired by the creativity of motherhood and the strength of women balancing family and work, she launched her own clothing company called Weston Jane. The business was designed with a unique concept. It featured clothing and products created by mothers, highlighting both their artistic talent and their entrepreneurial spirit. Through Weston Jane, Catherine sought to create a supportive community that celebrated women and family life. The brand's name itself reflected what mattered most to her. It combined elements inspired by her children and the family values she cherished. Her work allowed her to express creativity while also empowering other mothers who shared similar experiences. For those who knew her personally, Catherine's warmth and kindness left a lasting impression. She was known for her vibrant personality and the genuine love she showed toward her family and friends. Within the Williams family, she shared especially close bonds with her siblings, including Hillary Williams and Holly Williams, who had grown up alongside her as part of a large and tightly connected family. Tragically, Catherine's life was cut short in a devastating accident that shocked her loved ones and fans alike. On June 13, 2020, at just 27 years old, Catherine was involved in a fatal car crash in Tennessee. According to reports from the Tennessee Highway Patrol, Catherine and her husband were traveling in an SUV with a boat attached to the back when the vehicle suddenly crossed the highway median. The SUV rolled over during the accident, resulting in catastrophic consequences. Catherine did not survive the crash. Her sudden passing sent waves of grief through her family, and the wider community who had known her vibrant spirit. Tyler survived the accident but was seriously injured and had to be airlifted to a nearby hospital for medical evaluation and treatment. In the days following the tragedy, Catherine's family shared heartfelt tributes honoring her memory. Her sister Hillary Williams expressed her sorrow through an emotional message posted on Instagram stories. Remembering the bond they shared, Hillary wrote about the pain of losing her beautiful little sister Katie, adding that she would always love and miss her. She ended the message with a deeply personal note of hope, saying she believed they would see each other again someday, beyond the blue. The loss of Catherine left a profound void within the Williams family. For a family that had already experienced both triumph and tragedy over generations, her passing was another heartbreaking chapter. Yet those closest to her have continued to celebrate her life by remembering the joy, compassion, and creativity she brought to the world. Samuel Williams. As the grandson of the legendary Hank Williams and Audrey Williams, Samuel inherited a name deeply connected to the roots and evolution of American country music. Yet despite that powerful legacy, his early interests did not immediately lead him toward the stage. In fact, Samuel has often said that music was not the center of his life during childhood. In a 2019 interview with Cowboys and Indians, he explained that he had always been a very academic student growing up. Rather than focusing on performing or songwriting like the generations before him, he spent much of his youth immersed in schoolwork and intellectual pursuits. While music was certainly part of the environment around him, it wasn't something he actively chased during his early years. For a long time, Samuel deliberately kept his distance from the music world that had defined his family's reputation. Perhaps the enormous expectations attached to the Williams name made him cautious about stepping into that arena. Whatever the reason, his childhood and teenage years were shaped more by academics than by the pursuit of a musical career. Eventually, however, that direction began to change. After graduating from high school, Samuel briefly attended Belmont University in Nashville, a school well known for its music and entertainment programs. While the university seemed like a natural place for someone from such a musical background, Samuel soon realized that the traditional college path wasn't where his true passion lay. After a short time at Belmont, he made the bold decision to leave school and focus entirely on developing his career as a musician. The choice reflected a moment of clarity. Rather than following a conventional academic path, he wanted to explore songwriting and performance on his own terms. That journey began to take shape when Samuel released his debut album, Glass House Children, in 2021. The project served as an introduction to his deeply personal style of storytelling. Rather than simply echoing the sound of previous Williams generations, Samuel leaned into a modern blend of country, folk, and emotional balladry. His lyrics often explored vulnerability, identity, and personal reflection, offering listeners a glimpse into his inner world. The album established Samuel as an artist willing to confront difficult emotions and complex themes. Many listeners and critics noted that while the Williams influence was still present, his music had a unique voice that felt contemporary and deeply introspective. He continued developing that voice with the release of his EP, The Thaw, in January 2024. The project further demonstrated his growth as both a songwriter and performer, expanding his sound while continuing to explore themes of healing, identity, and self-discovery. One particularly meaningful song in his catalog is The Lost Grandchild's Plea, a heartfelt tribute to his grandparents Hank Williams and Audrey Williams. Although Samuel never had the opportunity to meet them, their legacy has loomed large throughout his life. The song reflects his emotional connection to family history and the complicated experience of inheriting a legacy from people he never personally knew. At the same time, Samuel has also embraced the musical heritage of his father. In one performance, he recorded a cover of Hank Williams Jr.'s 1981 hit, Weatherman, paying tribute to a song that had long been part of the Williams musical tradition. The cover served as a bridge between generations, blending respect for the past with his own modern interpretation. As he has grown into his role as an artist, Samuel has spoken openly about the lessons he has learned from studying his father's career. He has often pointed out that Hank Williams Jr. initially spent years honoring his own father's music before eventually forging a revolutionary path of his own. That moment of transformation, when his father began shaping country music into something new and global, left a strong impression on Samuel. Reflecting on that history, Samuel explained that one of the most important lessons he has learned is the importance of authenticity. His father eventually succeeded because he embraced who he truly was, rather than trying to imitate someone else. For Samuel, that message has become a guiding principle. The key to longevity in music is simply being yourself. Another defining moment in Samuel's life came in 2022, when he publicly shared an important part of his identity. In the music video for his single Tilted Crown, he came out as gay, a deeply personal revelation that he had previously only shared with close friends and family. The decision to make that aspect of his life public marked a significant step toward living authentically. During an appearance on Apple Music's Proud Radio with Hunter Kelly, Samuel spoke candidly about why he felt the time was right to share his truth. He explained that he had begun to feel as though he was promoting invisibility by hiding such a fundamental part of himself. The music video gave him the opportunity to openly express who he was and connect with others who might feel the same way. For Samuel, the announcement was not about making headlines, it was about honesty. While people close to him had already known, the public statement allowed him to fully embrace his identity without fear or secrecy. In doing so, he also became part of a growing number of artists helping expand representation within the country music world. What do you think about Hank Williams Jr.'s children? Leave us your comments in the section below. We hope you have found this helpful video. Don't forget to leave a like, share, and subscribe to the channel if you like it. Thank you for watching this, and see you in the next videos. Goodbye.